everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss Terzaghis bearing capacity theory from the chapter Bearing Capacity of Shallow Foundation. Terzaghi in 1943 gave a general theory for the determination of ultimate bearing capacity of soil below the foundation or below the strip footing. For that, he made certain assumptions. So let us first now discuss these assumptions. The first assumption is the base of the footing is rough. As the base of the footing is rough, there is friction between the base of the footing and the soil which is present below the footing. The second assumption is the footing is laid at shallow depth. That means df is less than or equal to b. Means the ratio df by b is less than or equal to 1. The next assumption is the shear strength of the soil above the base of the footing is neglected and the soil which is above the base is replaced by the uniform such as gamma df. As I have said in previous video that when a foundation is subjected to certain load, say P, then that load is transmitted to the soil which is present below the foundation. That's why the soil which is present above the base of the foundation is not subjected to any load. That's why the shear strength of the soil in this area is neglected and it is replaced by the uniform such as gamma df. So this gamma df is the weight of this soil. This weight acts on the soil which is present at the base of the footing. The next assumption is the load on the footing is vertical and is uniformly distributed. So as per this assumption, the load acting on this footing is vertical only and is uniformly distributed. So this theory will not be applicable if the load acting on this footing is inclined. The next assumption is the footing is long. That means L by B ratio is infinite, where B is the width of the foundation and L is the length of the footing. So that means the strip footing is assumed for this theory. And the last assumption is the shear strength of the soil is governed by Mohr-Coulomb equation. So now let us begin with the derivation for the expression of ultimate bearing capacity using Terzaghi's theory. So here in this figure we can see that a strip footing having base width B is laid at depth df from the ground surface. This footing is subjected to uniform pressure of Qu. And since this Qu is the ultimate bearing pressure, the soil which is present below the footing fails in shear. So at failure, the soil which is present below the footing may move along this surface, causing tilting of the footing towards the right side, or soil may fail along this surface, causing tilting of the footing towards left side. So these two surfaces are called as failure surfaces. In both the cases of failure, the soil which is present below the ground surface will move in outward direction and it will try to reach the ground surfaces. Terzaghi divided the soil which is bounded between the base level of the footing and the failure surfaces into total 5 zones. The zone 1 is the zone which is present immediately beneath the footing, and the zone which is on the either side of the zone 1 is named as zone 2, and the zones which are near the base level of the footing are named as zone 3. So now we will discuss each zone in detail. So let us first talk about the zone 1. This zone is present immediately beneath the footing and As the base of the footing is rough, there is friction between the base of the footing and soil which is present in the zone 1. That's why this soil in the zone 1 is prevented from lateral yielding. That means this soil remains in the state of elastic equilibrium. And since there is no lateral yielding of the soil, that means there is no horizontal movement of the soil in this zone. So this soil will behave as if it is a part of the footing. That means suppose if we apply pressure on the footing will settle, and along with the footing, the soil in the zone 1 will also settle. And also in zone 1, that means in which ABC, angle ABC means this angle, and angle BAC means this angle are assumed as equal, and they are equal to angle of shearing resistance phi dash of the soil. Now let us talk about the zone 2. So these two zones which are below the wedge ABC, or we can say below the zone 1, are the radial shear zones, and these curved surfaces FC and CD are the arcs of logarithmic spiral. These surfaces AC and BC of the wedge ABC bear against the soil in zone 2, means there is friction between the soil of zone 1 and zone 2 along the surfaces AC and BC. And these zones which are triangular in shape on either side of footing are the zone 3, and they are known as Rankine passive zone. The overburden pressure gamma dF act as a surcharge on this zone. So this overlying soil which is above the base of the footing exert pressure which is equal to gamma dF, where gamma dF is the weight of this soil. So this soil exert pressure on this third zone, that is Rankine's passive zone. So if we consider the left side zone, the angle made by surface GF and AF are equal, and they are equal to 45 degree minus phi dash by 2. And here also on the right hand side, the angle made by surface BD and surface DE with the horizontal is equal, and it is equal to 45 degree minus phi dash by 2. Terzaghi has given this theory for general shear failure. So obviously this failure surface will reach the ground surface, and there will be shear resistance of the soil along this failure surface between the ground surface and the base of the footing. But since this is shallow foundation, the length of the failure surface in between ground level and the base of the footing is very small. That's why shear resistance along this length is neglected, and the Terzaghi has already neglected the shear resistance of the soil above the base of the footing. That's why his theory is valid only for shallow foundation. Now suppose if foundation is deep, then the length of this failure surface between the base of footing and the ground surface will be large, and that's why we cannot neglect the shear resistance of this failure surface, and that's why Terzaghi's theory won't be applicable. Now since the foundation and soil in zone 1 are acting as a one unit, then when we apply pressure on the foundation, this entire unit will move downward, and this movement will cause the pressure on the soil in zone 2 and zone 3. So this loading condition becomes similar to the loading condition of the retaining wall. That means when a retaining wall moves towards the soil, Then the soil get compressed and in return it exerts passive pressure on the retaining wall, and this passive pressure is inclined at an angle phi dash to the normal to the surface. So similarly, when this foundation moves downward, it exerts the pressure on the soil in zone 2 and zone 3, and in return these zones exert passive pressure on the surface AC and BC, and this passive pressure is inclined at an angle phi dash to the normal to the surfaces. So these angles are phi dash. But these surfaces AC and BC are already inclined at an angle phi dash with the horizontal. That's why passive pressure becomes vertical pressure. Now there is another force which is acting along the surface AC and BC, and it is cohesive force. So suppose Li is the length of surface AC and BC, then the total cohesive force capital C will be equal to C dash into Li. So this Li can be resolved into two components, vertical components and horizontal component, but we are concerned with the vertical forces only. So vertical component of the cohesive force will be equal to C dash into Li sine phi dash, where phi dash is the angle between horizontal and BC and the angle between horizontal and AC. The failure of soil will take place when downward pressure is equal to upward pressure. So here downward pressure is due to pressure QU, and it is equal to QU into B. So here the length of the footing is assumed as 1 unit. That's why total area becomes equal to B into 1, which is B. So this is the downward pressure due to load QU. And there will be another downward pressure, and it is due to weight of the soil in the wedge ABC, and it is equal to density into area of triangle ABC. So area is half into base AB, which is having width B, into height. This height is equal to half B tan phi. So this height is equal to half B tan phi. So total weight of the soil in the wedge ABC will be equal to 1 by 4 gamma B square tan phi dash. So this is the another downward pressure. Now upward pressure will be due to passive pressure PP and the vertical component of cohesive force, and it is C dash Li sine phi dash. So these are the upward forces. So therefore from the equilibrium in the vertical direction, the summation of downward forces is equal to summation of upward forces. So QU into B plus 1/4 gamma B square tan phi dash is equal to 2P, because there are two surfaces on which passive pressure is acting, plus 2C dash into Li sine phi dash, because there are two surfaces along which cohesive force is acting. So here length of inclined surface CB is Li, and it is equal to B by 2 divided by cos phi dash. So taking this first term towards the right side, we will get QU into B is equal to 2PP plus 2C dash into Li sine phi dash minus 1/4 of gamma B square tan phi dash. Now let us talk about the passive pressure PP, which is acting on the surface BC and AC. Now this passive pressure is trying to resist the failure of the surface, because it is acting in opposite direction of the failure. So it is trying to resist the failure, and it is consisting of three components. That means this PP is made up of 3 parts and each part will try to resist the failure. The first part is denoted as Pp gamma. It is produced due to weight of the soil in zone B, E, D, C and in zone A, G, F, C. That means Pp gamma is the weight of soil in shear zone 2 and 3. So this weight of the soil will try to resist the failure. The second component of passive pressure is PPC. This is the component which is produced due to cohesion of soil. That means after failure, the movement of the soil will be like this. So this cohesive force will act in opposite direction of the movement of the soil along these failure surfaces. So this is the second component of passive pressure. And the third component of passive pressure is PPQ. And this component is produced due to surcharge Q, which is equal to gamma dF. As we have discussed, this surcharge is applying downward pressure on the soil which is present in zone 3, and because of failure the soil in these zones is trying to move in upward direction. So obviously this surcharge will try to resist the failure of the soil and it will be a part of passive pressure. All the three components of passive pressure Pp gamma, Ppc and Ppq are obtained by assuming different surfaces of failure, and while calculating each component the other components are assumed as 0. Means while calculating Pp gamma the cohesion is assumed as 0 and the surcharge is also assumed as 0. Similarly, while calculating Ppc the weight of the soil is assumed as 0 and surcharge is assumed as 0. And while calculating PPQ, the weight is assumed as 0 and cohesion is assumed as 0. So, this condition is applied for the different failure surfaces and the results are then superimposed. So, we can say although the respective failure surfaces for the all the conditions are different from the actual failure surface developed for footing on a soil which is having weight, cohesion as well as surcharge. This result can be superimposed without inducing much error. Thus, the resultant passive pressure is taken equal to the sum of components Pp gamma, Ppc and Ppq as I have said. So this was the original equation for the equilibrium we had calculated assuming downward forces equal to upward forces. So now we will replace Pp by sum of these three components. So the equation will be Qu into B equal to 2 into Pp gamma plus Ppc plus Ppq plus Bc dash tan phi dash minus 1/4 of gamma B square tan phi dash. Now by substituting 2 Pp gamma minus 1/4 gamma B square tan phi dash by B into half gamma Bn gamma and 2 Ppc plus Bc dash tan phi by B into C dash Nc, and also by replacing 2 ppq by B into gamma dfnq, we will get the equation Qu into B equal to this plus this plus this, which is equal to B into C dash Nc plus B into gamma dfnq plus B into half gamma B n gamma. So cancelling B from both the sides, we will get QU is equal to C dash NC plus gamma DF NQ plus 0.5 gamma B n gamma. So this is the expression given by Terzaghi to determine the ultimate bearing capacity of the shallow foundation. We can also replace this gamma DF by Q naught. So the equation will become QU equal to C dash NC plus Q naught NQ plus 0.5 gamma B n gamma. So here Q naught is the overburden pressure which is equal to gamma DF. So here this is the equation which is obtained for ultimate bearing capacity using Terzaghi's theory. So here this NC, NQ and N gamma, these are the factors called as bearing capacity factors and they are dimensionless, and value of these factors depend upon the angle of shearing resistance phi dash. So they are defined as NC is equal to cot phi dash into a square upon 2 cos square 45 degree plus phi dash by 2 minus 1. NQ is equal to a square upon 2 cos square 45 degree plus phi dash by 2, where value of A is e raised to 3 pi by 4 minus phi dash by 2 into tan phi dash, and N gamma is equal to half into Kp upon cos square phi dash minus 1 into tan phi dash. So here Kp is the coefficient of passive earth pressure. Now Terzaghi has given this expression to determine the value of ultimate bearing capacity in case of general shear failure only. So this equation will not be valid for local shear failure. So let us now derive the expression for the local shear failure. So for that, let us consider the section of a steep footing which is subjected to local shear failure. So in this case, the soil which is present below the footing will fail along the failure surface. But this failure surface will not reach the ground. That means if S is the shear strength of the soil, then this shear strength will not be completely utilized. Only part of it will be used to resist the forces. So we can say mobilized shear stress, or we can say the part of the shear strength which is used is less than the total shear strength of the soil. Now we know the formula for shear strength. It is S is equal to C dash plus tan phi dash. Now since the total shear strength is not completely used, that means the total cohesive strength is also not fully used, and total frictional resistance or frictional strength of the soil is also not fully used. Only part of these resistances are used. It is assumed that out of the total cohesive strength, only 2/3 strength is used in case of local shear failure, and also out of the total frictional strength also only 2/3 part is used. That means in case of local shear failure, the value of mobilized cohesion, or we can say utilized cohesive force, will be equal to 2/3 of cohesive strength. That is, mobilized cohesion will be equal to 2/3 of C dash, and mobilized angle of friction will be equal to 2/3 of tan inverse of phi dash. So in order to obtain the expression for QU in case of local shear failure, we will modify the above expression. So we can say QU for local shear failure is equal to, this C dash will be replaced by mobilized Cm. So Cm is equal to 2/3 of C dash. So here we will write 2/3 of C dash NC dash plus Q naught N Q dash plus 0.5 gamma B N gamma dash. So here NC dash, NQ dash and N gamma dash are the bearing capacity factors for local shear failure. In order to calculate the values of NC dash, NQ dash and N gamma dash, we have used same formula, but instead of using phi dash, we have used mobilized value of angle of friction. So all the phi dash in these formulas are replaced by phi m in order to calculate the bearing capacity factors for local shear failure. So now we have obtained formula to determine the ultimate bearing capacity of the soil for general as well as for local shear failure. So this value is used to determine the value of net allowable bearing pressure QNA, and this value is used for the designing of the foundation. That means the value of ultimate bearing capacity is used indirectly for the designing of the foundation. So the question is how to predict the type of failure even before the construction, because failure occurs after the construction. So there are some criteria using which we can decide whether the failure is going to be general failure or it is going to be local failure. For cohesion-less soil, if phi dash is greater than 36, phi dash greater than 36, then general shear failure is likely to occur. And if phi dash is less than 29 degree, phi dash is less than 29 degree, then in that case, local shear failure will be more probable. So this is the first criteria to determine the or to predict the type of failure. Now suppose soil is having phi dash in between 36 and 29. So in that case, that means for intermediate values of phi dash between 29 and 36, the values of bearing capacity factors are obtained by interpolation. For example, suppose soil is having phi dash is equal to 35 degree. So this 35 value lies in between 29 and 36. So we will have to do the interpolation to determine the value of bearing capacity factors. So first we will have to calculate the bearing capacity factors for phi dash equal to 35, assuming general shear failure, and then we will have to determine the bearing capacity factors for value of phi m, assuming local shear failure, and then we will have to do the interpolation. So now here the bearing capacity factors for phi dash equal to 35 is NC equal to 57.8, NQ equal to 41.4 and N gamma equal to 42.4. And here value of phi dash m is equal to tan inverse of 2/3 tan 35 degree, which is equal to 25 degree. So for this value, the bearing capacity factors will be NC dash equal to 25.2, NQ dash will be equal to 12.6 and N gamma dash will be equal to 10.1. So now we will have to do the interpolation between these values. So here the difference between the bearing capacity factors for 35 degree and 25 degree is NCD equal to 57.8 minus 25.2, which is equal to 32.6. NQD equal to 41.4 minus 12.6. It is equal to 28.8. And N gamma D is equal to 42.4 minus 10.1. It is equal to 32.3. Now 36 minus 29 is equal to 7. That means upper limit minus lower limit is 7, and 35, which is actual value of phi dash, minus lower limit, that is 29, is 6. So the value of NC for 35 degree can be obtained from NC equal to the lower value of NC out of these two values, which is 25.2 plus 6 by 7 into difference, which is equal to 32.6. It is equal to 53.16. Similarly, NQ will be equal to lower value of NQ out of these two values, which is 12.6 plus 6 by 7 into difference, which is 28.8. So NQ will be equal to 37.29, and N gamma is equal to lower value out of these two, which is 10.1 plus 6 by 7 into difference, which is 32.3. So N gamma will be equal to 37.79. Now the second criteria is, if the failure of the specimen of soil occurs at relatively small strength, say less than 5%, the failure of footing would be by general shear failure. So for general shear failure, the specimen of soil will fail at strength which is less than 5%. And if the stress strain curve does not show a peak and it's continuously rising curve even up to a strain of 10 to 20%, in that case local shear failure would occur in footing. So for local shear failure, no peak value obtained for stress strain curve, or no failure is observed even up to strain of 10 to 20%. Now the next criteria is, if relative density dr is greater than about 70%, then in that case general shear failure would occur. Means if dr is greater than 70%, then general shear failure would occur. And if it is less than 35%, then in that case local shear failure is more likely to occur. So if dr is less than 35%, then local shear failure will occur. And the next criteria is, if the standard penetration test value, which we are going to discuss in next video, that if the SPT value is more than 30, then general shear failure would occur. SPT more than 30, then general shear failure will occur. And if it is less than 5, means SPT is less than 5, in that case local shear failure is more likely to occur. Now the next criteria is, if E, that is void ratio, is less than 0.55, then the general shear failure occurs. E is less than 0.55, then general shear failure will occur. And if E is greater than 0.75, in that case local shear failure will occur. Now we will see the effect of water table on bearing capacity of shallow foundation. So there are again two cases. In first case, the water table is located above the base of the footing, and in second case the water table is located below the base of the footing. So first we will discuss the first case, that is water table located above the base of the footing. So here in this figure we can see that the footing is laid at depth df and the water table is at depth dw. So A is the distance, or we can say depth of the footing below the water table. The total breadth of the footing is B. So now in this case the effective surcharge is reduced as the effective weight below the water table is equal to submerged unit weight. That means Since water table is above the base of the footing, the unit weight of the soil in this area is reduced to submerged unit weight, and that's why the total surcharge also get reduced. So now we will derive the expression for the surcharge at the base of the footing. So this surcharge is equal to weight of the soil above the water table, which is equal to dW into gamma, plus weight of the soil below the water table, which is equal to A into gamma dash. So here, as I have said, dW is the depth of water table below the ground surface, and A is the height of water table above the base of the footing. So we can write A as dF minus dW. So putting this value in above expression, we can write Q is equal to gamma dW plus dF minus dW into gamma dash. So this equation will become equal to gamma dW plus gamma dash dF minus gamma dash dW. So taking these two terms together and taking dW common, we will get Q is equal to gamma dash dF plus gamma minus gamma dash dW. So this is the expression for the surcharge at the base of the footing. Now we know the general expression for the bearing capacity of soil. It is Qu equal to C dash Nc plus Q Nq plus half B gamma N gamma. So here in this equation we will replace Q by this obtained expression. But moreover, the unit weight in the third term of the equation is equal to submerged unit weight. That means this value of gamma will be replaced by submerged unit weight. So the equation for the bearing capacity will be equal to C dash Nc plus this Q will be replaced by gamma dash dF plus gamma minus gamma dash dW into NQ plus 0.5 gamma dash B N gamma. Now suppose if dW is equal to 0, that means the water table is located at the ground level. So in that case, the value of A will be equal to dF. So A will be equal to dF, and in the above equation this entire term will become 0 because dW is 0. So the modified equation will be Qu equal to C dash Nc plus gamma dash dF Nq plus 0.5 gamma dash B N gamma. Now suppose if A is equal to 0, that means the water table is located at the base of the footing, and in this case dF will be equal to dW. So in this expression this dW will be replaced by dF. So these two terms dF into gamma dash and this term will get cancelled. So this total expression will become equal to gamma dF. So the equation for the Qu will be equal to C dash Nc plus gamma dF Nq plus 0.5 gamma dash B N gamma. Now discuss the second case where water table is located at a depth B below the footing. So here in this figure we can see that the footing is laid at a depth dF from the ground surface and water table is at depth B from the base of the footing. So in this case, that means when water table is located below the base of the footing or at the base of the footing, in that case the surcharge is not affected. Means weight of soil above the base of the footing remains unaffected. However, the third term in the equation is modified as gamma bar equal to gamma dash plus small b by capital B into gamma minus gamma dash. Now we know the general equation for bearing capacity. It is Qu equal to C dash Nc plus Q Nq plus 0.5 B gamma N gamma. So here the gamma in the third term will be replaced by gamma bar, which is equal to this term. So the modified equation will be Qu equal to C dash Nc plus gamma df Nq plus 0.5 B into gamma dash plus small b by capital B into gamma minus gamma dash into N gamma. Now suppose if the water table is at the base of the footing. So in that case the value of B will be equal to 0. So the modified equation will be equal to Qu equal to C dash Nc plus gamma df Nq plus 0.5 B gamma dash N gamma, because this entire term will be equal to 0. And also suppose when water table is located at a depth capital B below the base of the footing, in that case the small b in the above expression will be replaced by capital B. So this ratio will be equal to 1. So this entire term will be equal to gamma, because this gamma dash and gamma dash will get cancelled. So the modified equation will be Qu equal to C dash Nc plus gamma df Nq plus 0.5 B gamma N gamma. Based on the experimental results, Terzaghi gave the following equations for the ultimate bearing capacity for square and circular shallow footing. So for square footing, he gave expression Qu equal to 1.2 C dash Nc plus gamma df Nq plus 0.4 B gamma N gamma. So here these highlighted terms are the modified terms from the original equation for the strip footing. So here B is the dimension of each side of square footing. Now the expression for the circular footing is Qu equal to 1.2 C dash Nc plus gamma df Nq plus 0.3 B gamma N gamma. Here also these are the modified terms from the original equation for the strip footing. So here B is the diameter of the circular footing. Thank you for watching.